buddy?
Life's good, and yourself?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. Hey, thank you for coming out and playing with us in the desert, man.
Oh, that's what I live for.
That's awesome. David Ham picked a good spot, didn't he?
Oh, absolutely. I can't wait to rip it up.
I know everybody's excited, wants to get all this part done so that we can go ride.
Absolutely.
I can't wait either, because I'm going to get to test these amazing machines. So we have here, is it an 85 or an 86?
An 85.
85 Honda ATC 250R with lots of modifications.
Oh, yeah. About the only thing original is the frame, and that's been modified, and the forks, and the engine cases. That's been modified, too.
Oh, so we've changed just about everything.
Just about.
Excellent. So why did you pick three-wheelers?
I always found them interesting because they were a little bit outlaw, a little bit dangerous. Not your average guy could ride them. It took a special somebody to be able to swing a leg over it, and I always felt that was a draw for me. That that and anytime you pull up to one with one in the bed of your truck at a gas station or something, you get an old timer. I used to have one of these. These are so cool. I had so much fun. I broke my collarbone. All the best times of your life are had on a three-wheeler.
We could have left the broken collarbone out, but that's okay. So you have a Yamaha hat on and you ride a Honda.
Yamaha.
You have a Yamaha hat on. I love to ride Yamaha.
Your mama.
Oh, I guess I got to learn how to read.
Play on words.
Okay.
Well, I'm a fan of both. I've got a Z250 that I race, and a Banshee that I race.
That's why I was reading it that way. So you come from the flat track environment, and now you're a desert racer?
I've been in desert my whole life. I got into flat track just because it was a good time and I didn't have to leave the ground. And desert. I've always rode desert. I've been riding the desert since I was 2 years old, and the desert racing kind of came natural to me because of that. I've always loved riding. I just never liked looking back and waiting for people. So desert racing was the opportunity to never look back and just ride as fast as you wanted. And that was a cool opportunity for me. And started doing local D38 races on my dirt bike. And then I was also into the three-wheelers, but they don't allow three-wheelers for some reason. And I started getting into racing with like Lyle Tonelli. And started racing Nora races and down in Mexico. And we did Vegas to Reno last year. And that kind of is what set it all off for me. That's what made me really want to push and start doing it on my own and doing my own bike and seeing how far I could push myself. And Vegas to Reno was a dream of mine to do for a long time. And doing it with Lyle, it was a good opportunity to see if I was able to and if I would even stand a chance. And I thought I could, so I went out and did it, and glad I got it done. It was definitely a bucket list item. Glad I was able to say I finished it. For weeks going into it, I was worried, what if I don't finish? Then, I'm gonna, it's gonna be mile marker 370 or something. That's gonna be my stopping point, and I've got to push through it, and I'm gonna have to do all this next year because I'm gonna have to prove it to myself. So I was very happy to do it and call it done. I'm not sure if I want to do it again or do something different. I was thinking maybe score races. I'd like to see if we can get into a score 400 or 500. I think that would be an awesome opportunity. I'd love to still do the Nora 1000. That's an awesome experience. You get to, view or go see Baja and in less of a racing environment. It's still a race, but, you don't have trophy trucks breathing down your throat. It's a little bit safer. You get to see all the sights and see them during the daytime because you have 5 days to do it. And that's a race I love and I can't wait to do again.
That's so cool. You have on your 250R an four-wheeler swing arm.
That's correct, an 06 TRX 450R swing arm.
What linkage did you go with on that?
I actually got the linkage with the swing arm. A buddy of mine hooked me up with it. He was going to do the same thing, put it on his three-wheeler. I'm not sure what brand it is.
It's not the traditional linkage. It's an aftermarket setup.
That is correct, sir.
It has a lot of droop out in the back there. Yeah. It also runs the TRX 450R rear caliper,
Yeah. Rear caliper, it's actually 400 EX carrier and axle, but it does have the brake stay and caliper mount for a TRX 450R. Those are just much more readily available than a 250R. As many of the enthusiasts know, they're almost impossible to come by. So I was able to order 2 of those for the price of a rebuild kit for mine. So it was worth the R&D to be able to adapt it.
You gotta love that. You even put different clamps on your machine and went to a flex bar on a 250R 2-stroke that most people run a stiff or a solid bar on there.
That's correct. I got these anti-vibe top triple clamp, and it has the anti-vibe mounts in there, and then this goes to here. So on the traditional 250R, they hang back to about here and go to a 7/8 diameter bar. This brings it up forward, which is better because, you know, I'm a little bit taller guy for what these were designed for. And then as well, I'm able to run the flex bars, what makes night and difference, especially after 521 miles. That'll make a huge difference in the ride and the quality of ride and the quality of recovery after the ride.
You're also running a Nerf bar heel guard setup on your machine. Is there a reason you went to a Nerf bar heel guard versus the standard just foot peg?
Yes, and it is. I don't like the look of them. It's all about functionality, and the second that you don't slip your foot off and get it stuck in the tire is the moment it paid for itself as far as aesthetics for me. I do like the looks of the traditional single foot peg. That's what's appealing to me. It's a part of the danger factor, but you know, when you got to ride 500 miles and you're tired, that can save your butt, that can save your ankle, that can make the difference of finishing or not finishing or even a hospital trip.
That safety is everything, right?
Functionality.
Yeah, safety, function, you know, everything it looks like you've done to this machine is all about function, and there's nothing that's excess that you don't need, correct?
It seems for the most part, yeah, everything is based around functionality and getting to the finish line. Like here, we've got built a trunk out of PVC piping and adapted it to the frame. And the reason I put it here is in the past, we've broken 6-pack racks off because the weight's, you know, a foot behind the subframe. So if I can move the weight up here, that's less leverage on the bike. So I figured that's going to be better, and it held up for Vegas to Reno and all the rides since then. So I've been really happy with that. And then here, same idea, moving the weight forward. I put some of the lighter and softer stuff in here. This is just a fanny pack that I got off of Amazon. I stapled to the seat pan, and it works great. I couldn't ask for more out of it for what I have into it.
That's outstanding stuff. A steering dampener, flex bars, traditional 250R forks that you don't see in the aftermarket machines. And some of the machines you raced against in Vegas to Reno were the conversions where they had motorcycle suspension versus the traditional manufactured 3-wheeler suspension.
Yeah, absolutely, and I believe that this style setup of suspension is the best for this frame and this bike. I believe that if you were going to a dirt bike frame or a modified frame where you're, you know, expected to run the heavier suspension and have more horsepower and a stronger frame, then you could run the upside down forks. I've seen and heard of a lot of issues with the upside down forks on these frames, cracking them and whatnot. So for me, this suspension does really good. My sponsor, San Diego Small Engine, they set up the suspension for me, and it's ridden better than any 3-wheeler I've ridden so far. That might change today with riding some modern trikes, but my whole life I've rode vintage bikes, and this is the best handling one so far.
That's pretty outstanding stuff. When you talked about riding in Vegas to Reno this year, you Ironman that whole deal, didn't you?
Yes, sir. Start to finish, every mile was under my boots.
Did you at any point say enough's enough?
I wanted it to be over, but by the time I actually considered quitting at a serious point, I had about 70 miles left, and I knew I would never forgive myself if I gave up at that point. At that point, I was so far into it, so far had been put into this race and out of me, and I knew I'd had to finish it. I'd never forgive myself. So I just pushed through, made it happen, and I'm very grateful that I did.
So are we. So you in the publicity market or in the media market, a lot of people talk about the safety issues with three-wheelers. In your view, are three-wheelers getting skewed in a bad light?
Only by people that don't know how to ride them and don't understand that, want to take responsibility for their own actions or the actions of others. You know, in my opinion, that three-wheelers are very, very similar to a firearm in the sense that it all comes down to the person that's holding it, the person that's riding it. You know, you could hurt yourself on this bike today, no problem, but I could ride it for 521 miles and be fine. You know, same with a firearm. You know, I could have a firearm in my vehicle or in my home for 30 years and it never hurt anybody. But you put it in the hands of the wrong person and it could be devastating.
That's a pretty good analogy. The light system that you put on, did you have to do anything special to get the LED lights to function for you?
So on these, I do not use any of the original stator or anything like that. It actually doesn't have a lighting stator. It's actually got more of like a magneto system. So it's all ridden off battery. I've got a Milwaukee 18-volt battery that's in the airbox. And Tech Wrangle, you guys interviewed him earlier. He did the wiring harness for me that fit the bike perfectly and the mounts for the lights. So I got an amber light here and a clear light here. This is for when you're hauling butt in the dark and you can, view 300, 400 feet ahead of you. And then when you're stuck in the dust, you turn that off so it's not blinding you, put on the amber and it'll cut right through the dust. And then as well, he went the extra mile and added this cover so when you have the white light on, it's not reflecting off your front fender into your face. And then as well, you have the amber light on, it's not reflecting into the dust at eye level into your eyes. So that was probably one of the most crucial points of this bike for Vegas to Reno, especially when the sun went down, which I would say half my race was rode in the dark. I finished at I think 3:20 in the morning or 3:40 in the morning. So, I was probably in the dark since 7. And then as well, I got a tail light on there that is ran off the same battery, and that I'm sure is a lifesaver because it is super bright, but you need that when you...
How many batteries?
Just one.
That battery went the whole time?
No, I exchanged batteries at pits.
Each time, every pit? So roughly every 50 miles, or was it every 100 miles?
Only in the dark. The tail light could run all week on the one battery, no problem. When you start running the headlights, that's when it starts draining batteries. So as soon as I was in the dark, I was changing batteries every pit. I actually stopped because I had a flat tire and was going real slow, and I had to stop somewhere. And one of the reasons I went with the Milwaukee batteries is you can pull up to almost any crew or pit or whatever sitting on the side of a race course. Anybody got a Milwaukee battery? And I've had somebody trade me out a charged one for my empty one and put it in and kept going. And that was one of the reasons I went with Milwaukee's. You can find them almost anywhere.
That's pretty awesome stuff. That was good thinking. Did you come up with that one on your own, or was that something that you and Wrangle talked about?
I thought of the Milwaukee battery on my own. Wrangle, sided with me, thought it was a good idea. I believe he runs a very similar program on his bike, and it's just one of those. It's pretty universal, and they're tried and true, and you can get them fairly readily available.
That's so cool. Julian, thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it. We're gonna get to go ride in this amazing sandbox or toy box of trails and cactus and rocks, and I hope to see you out on the trail today.
Absolutely, can't wait.
All right, brother. Thank you so much.